Right now, someone weaker than you is winning, not because he's more capable, but because he acts like he belongs at the top. While you hesitate, he asserts. While you seek permission, he takes space. And in the time it takes you to question yourself, he's already made the room adjust to him. You're not losing because you're lacking. You're losing because you're waiting for clarity, for comfort, for some invisible green light that never comes. And every second you wait, the world is claimed by people who don't. Power doesn't care who's the smartest. It follows those who move with certainty, not because they're right, but because they don't waver. You weren't born hesitant. You were trained to hesitate, taught to ask instead of declare, trained to play small and call it humility. And now you carry that hesitation like armor, not realizing it's the very thing holding you back. That cautious voice in your head, that whisper telling you to pull back, to be reasonable, to tone it down. That's not you. That's conditioning. And it needs to die. Because as long as you listen to it, you will live on the sidelines of your own life. You will watch men with less vision and less heart take everything you're qualified for, simply because they don't wait. This is not about arrogance. This is about removal, a clean, precise extraction of every weak behavior you learn from people who were never strong themselves. When you feel yourself start to shrink, expand. When you want to soften your words, pause. When you feel the urge to apologize for existing, hold eye contact instead. Because every time you resist the pull to diminish yourself, you step into command. And command doesn't ask. It doesn't explain. It becomes the frame that others conform to. You stop over-talking. You stop justifying. You stop performing. You speak like your words finalize the conversation. You move like your presence sets the tempo. You enter rooms without chasing impact, because your stillness is louder than their volume. Let others scramble for attention. Let them interrupt, over-explain, and try to impress. You sit back. You assess. You wait. Because you know, the one who speaks first reveals weakness. The one who speaks last owns the conclusion. And silence? Silence is your sharpest edge. It makes them nervous. It forces them to fill the void. It reveals what they're really afraid of, because silence is pressure, and pressure reveals character. You don't use silence to hide. You use it to expose. Every sentence they speak trying to justify, impress, or defend gives you more leverage. You say less. You observe more. And when you do speak, every word lands like a decision, not a request. Burn the weak language. I think. Maybe. I could be wrong. Those are not signs of intelligence. They're evidence of internal conflict. They tell the world you're not sure of yourself. And if you're not sure of you, why should anyone else be? Speak with conviction. Even if it's quiet, let it be firm. Because people don't follow facts. They follow certainty. And once you understand that, you stop chasing validation. You stop seeking reassurance. You stop giving your emotions away just to feel seen. From this point on, your emotional energy becomes sacred. Not because you're numb, because you're selective. Because you finally understand what makes a man powerful. Isn't what moves him, it's what doesn't. Someone disrespects you, you don't react, you take note. Someone flatters you, you don't melt. You analyze the motive. You are no longer available for emotional manipulation. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be unreadable. Let others show you who they are. You remain composed, and that makes you dangerous. Because nothing is more terrifying than a man who feels everything, but reveals nothing. Rejection is not a wound. It's a gift. If someone walks away, good. They've just disqualified themselves. You don't chase. You don't explain. You vanish. Let your silence be their punishment. Let the absence be louder than your presence ever was. They don't need a message. They need a void. Because real power doesn't beg for closure. It creates distance so complete, they have to sit with the echo of your absence. You weren't discarded. You were elevated, pulled out of a cycle too weak to carry your growth. And from now on, you don't view rejection as a failure. You treat it like intel. It shows you where not to return. It shows you who isn't built to witness your evolution. You are not here to convince. You are not here to explain. You are here to embody silence, precision, and presence. This is not about looking strong. It's about being untouchable. You don't prove your power, you withhold it. And in that silence, people start calculating. They feel the shift, because now they no longer know where they stand with you. And that uncertainty, that's leverage. You've stopped broadcasting your emotions, stopped making yourself easy to read. Because when people can't read you, they can't control you. They used to know what words would trigger you, what silence would disturb you, what praise would pull you in. But now you are unmoved. They can't get a reaction. They can't find the lever. And that's when they start to fear what you've become. This is emotional control, not the absence of feeling, but the refusal to be governed by it. You feel the insult, but you don't flinch. You hear the praise, but you don't chase it. You let their behavior tell the story, while your silence becomes the plot twist. Because the man who reacts is predictable, and the predictable man is powerless. You now operate on a different frequency. Praise doesn't elevate you. Insults don't dismantle you. And silence becomes your language of dominance. Let them talk. Let them speculate. Let them try to decode you. They won't get far, because now your motives are private. Your emotions are locked. Your energy is guarded like a vault. That's what makes you untouchable. They don't know what drives you. They don't know what wounds you. They don't even know if they still matter to you. And that mystery, that gap between who you were and who you've become, it haunts them. You don't give warnings anymore. You don't issue explanations. You simply withdraw. No drama, no announcement. Just absence so sharp, it cuts louder than confrontation. You don't lose people. You let them walk into their own irrelevance, because those who cannot recognize strength were never meant to stand beside it. And you're not seeking revenge. You're seeking precision. Your evolution isn't for show, it's for control. You don't come back to prove anything. You return only when your growth becomes undeniable, when your new presence makes them uncomfortable. Not because you've changed, but because you've revealed how small they always were. And when that moment comes, you say nothing. No gloating, no performance, no validation. You walk in with the same silence that made them lose access in the first place. Because when you truly evolve, you don't speak about it. You let the shift speak for itself. They'll look at you and realize the room doesn't feel the same. And that's because you are no longer the same. You no longer flinch when someone walks away. You no longer spiral when misunderstood. Because now you understand, the deepest power is internal. Most men lose not because they lack strength, but because their emotions are still public property. They panic when love is withheld. They crumble when they're ignored. They need to be validated to feel stable. And that's the weakness you've killed. You don't perform anymore. You don't chase applause. You don't explain yourself to people who haven't earned the right to question you. You're no longer trying to be seen. You're mastering the art of being felt. Let your stillness pressurize the space. Let your presence make people speak more carefully. Let your silence become the new fear. You've stopped needing to be liked. You've stopped hoping to be understood. Because now, your clarity is internal. And once your self-worth no longer depends on their perception, you become ungovernable. You're not loud. You're lethal, not chaotic, controlled. Your life is no longer about reaction. It's about design. You shape outcomes without needing to force them. You shift energy without raising your voice. You leave impressions without staying long. This is not charm, it's command. You don't rush. You don't beg. You don't fold under silence. Because now, the unknown works in your favor. You let them feel the consequences of losing you. Without warning, without debate, without closure. You don't re-enter conversations to be heard. You re-enter rooms to be remembered. And the moment they feel your distance more than they ever felt your presence, they understand. They didn't reject you. They released a version of you they never truly understood. But now that version is dead, and in its place is something rare, something still, something sharp, something unshakable. This is not confidence. This is psychological warfare. And you are now the weapon. You move like a strategist. You speak like the outcome is already yours. You exist like gravity, not demanding attention, but commanding it effortlessly. From this point forward, you don't seek invitations. You don't need validation. You don't wait to be seen. You are the standard, the threshold, the presence that defines the room. No more soft entries. No more verbal disclaimers. No more chasing respect. You've stopped reaching. And because of that, you've become unreachable. That is the final form of power, not to be loud, not to be liked, but to be untouchable. If you've made it this far, you're not just scrolling, you're searching for something deeper. Thanks for trusting me with your mind. If this spoke to you, like the video, hit subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to reclaim their power. Until next time, stay sharp and think deeper.